I was told I need to post this here. This was last night. We've been chatting for 2 to 3 months and have been on several dates. We had plans the following night, tonight, but I'll assume those are off. She still hasn't responded to my last text you see here. She hasn't acted this way before, so she could be stressed or struggling about something unrelated, but that doesn't excuse anything. She says, if you have time tonight, I would like you to call me, please. He says, yeah, of course. Tried to call. I can chat right now before 7 if you want. She says, no, I didn't mean right now. I'm with someone. He says, later tonight I can. She said, estimate on time? He says, 9:30-ish. She says, schedule isn't working in this instance. Why do they sound like a boss who needs to meet up with you about important clientele? Then she immediately says, before he even gets a chance to respond, okay, never mind. I'll talk to you some other day. He says, will you be free later than that? She says, no idea. I do not plan to be home tonight. Thanks for trying, though. I will talk to you some other time. This is so robotic. He says, I'll have 10 to 15 minutes while I drive somewhere around 8:15-ish. She says, no thanks. He says, are you upset? To which she says, no. Okay, this might not be true in every single instance, but I feel like when you ask, are you upset? And they only say no, it's a definite yes. Because if I'm texting with someone and they're like, are you mad at me? I feel like I usually will go out of my way to ensure them I am not. This might be the people pleaser in me, but I feel like I would at least give a no LOL. But if I got a no, I would be like, oh, she's pissed for some reason. I don't know why, but she's livid. OP says, okay. She says, I'm much more clear than earlier, actually. He heart reacts it and says, I'm glad. Where are you going? She says, okay, my driver is here. I'm going. We'll definitely not be home tonight. I'm sure we will speak sometime, though. Have a good night. Maybe this is just me, being a conspiracy person or whatever, but it kind of sounds like she is trying to make him jealous with the constant repeated and I'm not going to be home tonight. By the way, I'm not going home tonight. Why aren't you asking me why I'm not going to be home tonight? Do you think I could be I'm completely off base here? Or that's what it's kind of giving to me. Just because I've seen this so many times where right when things start to go really well, a lot of girls will decide this is the time to start adding tests and games to see if he's really gonna pass and be the good guy I think he might be, and that's typically when they start to ruin it for themselves. That's kind of the way it's seeming to me. He says, won't we see each other tomorrow? And follows it up with, I don't like how you're acting. Why make a point to tell me you won't be home, and again make a point to not answer when I ask where? Okay, so he did ask, I just don't think we caught that. Then say, oh, whatever, I'll talk to you another day, some other time, fully knowing we have plans in 24 hours. She says, wow, as if anything he said was unwarranted. My theories are starting to be pieced together here. I have someone with me. What are you, some executive? You're with your agent or something? She's definitely trying to make old boy jealous here. I have someone with me and was letting you know I wouldn't be home for a call later when I asked you to call. I just told you where, and sorry the phrasing wasn't perfect. Jesus Christ. But you're right, we don't need to fucking talk. He says, go look at your texts again. You didn't say where. She says, yeah, because I'm in a rush and I'm doing a million things. I literally tried to just answer, but we just obviously don't get along. This is ridiculous, especially after everything else. I should not have even asked you to call if this was going to happen. Jesus, thank Christ. How did we get here? How did this crash out happen? What? He says, when you're no longer rushed, you should take a moment and read this whole conversation again. See if you're okay and how you just spoke to me and if you think it was justified. You still never answered. Oh, wow. First comment says, I'm still stuck on how she told you to please call her sometime tonight, but then followed that up by telling you how she was so busy, about to leave, and won't be home all night. Just how on earth were you supposed to call and talk to her if she was so busy and wouldn't be home to have this conversation that she wanted? What a major contradiction. He says, thank you. What was her goal? I felt like I was crazy in that moment. This person says she wanted you to ask who she was with so she could tell you she was with a guy. Okay, so I'm not the only one with this conspiracy theory either. Okay, that's crazy. Games, 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 games. Ignore the rules and the person orchestrating. It will crumble. She's 100% banging that other person. LOL. And she did her best to make sure the guy knew. I would have unmatched slash blocked the second that attitude showed up. He says, no, she was intentionally trying to imply that, though, and make me jealous. She is playing games. She doesn't owe telling me where she is going, but why even make a point to tell me then? If she was really banging someone else, she would not talk about it. I think that's true, too. I think it's absolutely the most likely scenario that she is with no one. She has no plans. She is not busy. She is rushed. But I think that maybe she might be interested in someone else. She might be talking to someone else. And so she's trying to do that thing where she starts shit so that she can make you look like you're the crazy person, so that she can blame you for why she can't talk to you anymore. That way she doesn't have to be the one who's like, I stopped talking to him because I'm talking to too many other guys. That's my theory. So not a very nice girl. I love that so many people are starting to get really good at calling out these games, though. Like, no one's really falling for it anymore. All right, this one simply says, saw this on my feed. She says, hey. He says, hi. She says, you're active, yay! I missed you. I literally love talking to you every second of the day and seeing you and everything about you. He says, aw, we should date then, JK, JK, unless... No, I'm not ready for a relationship. Stop pressuring me. Can you guys hear my brain short-circuiting? Is he in the wrong? 0 to 100 in 0 milliseconds. Her medication failed. Someone give her a Snickers. And then the most accurate of advice. She just likes the attention you're giving her. Ignore her. You'll be fine. So this is a good example of a different type of nice girl. Okay? There are the nice girls who immediately feel entitled to things, especially like in relationships and stuff. And then there are the friend zoning nice girls. And I actually just made a video about this, but I feel like it's worth talking about again because there is some confusion when it comes to what the friend zone actually is. There are a lot of people who even say that the friend zone doesn't exist. There are people who think that guys are trash if they use the word friend zone. I've seen a lot of videos of girls who are like,
guys who use the term friend zone are just so pathetic. They just cannot handle having a platonic relationship with a woman, and they only want one thing.
But no, the friend zone is a very specific thing, and this is a primary example of what that looks like. The friend zone is when you express pretty clear romantic interest in a person, but the girl, instead of giving you a black and white answer on whether she is or isn't interested in you, instead just toys around with you like a cat and a yarn ball, like a carrot on a string above your head. She takes your interest in her and possibly even the things you offer to do for her because you're interested, and then just wrings it out for absolutely everything that it is worth, to the point where they'll often be saying things like,
no, I really am interested in you. Like, I really do like you, and I'm kind of leaning that way. I'm just not ready yet.
Or they'll say things like, if you even so much as express interest in someone else, suddenly they're like,
how dare you? They're not right for you. What about your interest in me?
And they get super jealous and they won't even let you move on. And yet, when you're like, oh, okay, well then, if you don't want me to date her, do you want to date? They're like,
oh no, I'm just not ready. I'm still going through some things.
Then when they start talking to like their toxic ex or whatever, they completely drop you, which is ironic of the whole, guys don't know how to just be platonic friends with girls type thing, because typically these girls who friend zone guys don't actually know how to be a friend themselves. When the toxic ex stops talking to them, that's when they suddenly come back and they want all of the emotional labor all over again. And, can I talk to you? This guy is such a jerk. Please agree with me that he's such a jerk. And they come right back in. This is what it looks like. And even to the point where, yeah, they will get aggro with you for even suggesting, like, hey, man, we sure do flirt a lot. Well, what if we actually had something? And they're like,
ew, what's wrong with you? We're just friends. What the f? And it's like,
oh, I don't know. I just figured because you say that you want to talk to me every day and that you love me and that you love to cuddle, I guess. How dare I think that? Imagine being offered $350,000 after a devastating accident, only to have a jury award you $12.2 million instead. That's exactly what happened when Morgan & Morgan took on the case of a 70-year-old physical therapist who was unexpectedly struck by a commercial truck. The insurance company underestimated both the elderly woman and her injuries, but Morgan & Morgan didn't. Insurance companies often lowball people all the time, and most of us don't even realize it. In this case, the insurance company downplayed this woman's life-changing injuries and offered what they thought was fair. But when she decided to work with Morgan & Morgan, they didn't settle. They fought in court, getting her millions instead. That's real money and real justice. And this isn't just a one-off. Another client was only offered $200,000 after a serious crash, but Morgan & Morgan pushed it to trial and secured $2.6 million instead. That's a 1,200% increase, because most of us don't have the tools to go up against billion-dollar insurance companies on our own. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. They've recovered billions for their clients. And here's the thing, you don't pay anything unless they win your case. No hourly rates, no upfront fees. If you've been seriously injured, even if the offer looks decent, don't sign anything until you've talked to a real attorney. You can start your claim for free with Morgan & Morgan now at forthepeople.com/dadvocate, found in my description box below, or by scanning the QR code on screen from your phone's camera. Now that you know one more way to protect yourself, let's get back to the video. It's alright, we'll just keep going down the nice girl rabbit hole. This one's from Bumble. Seems like it's kind of out of context, but we'll pick up where they leave off. Hi, Allie, nice to meet you. How's your weekend going? She says, it is going good. Smooth and nice. He says, oh, awesome. Anything interesting you're up to this weekend? Nope. By the way, I'm starting to get what you guys complain about when you're like, women want all this stuff from us, and they say that we're guilty of the bare minimum, but they cannot construct conversations to save their lives. I'm starting to see what you guys are complaining about the more we read these. But nonetheless, he absolutely carries the conversation, saying, ah, cool, same. Do you have any favorite Bollywood movies? She says, there are a bunch of movies I like, but I don't have any fave movies. He says, ah, gotcha. Any movie you've watched recently that you like? This is like pulling teeth, dude. May I never return to the dating market. This is god awful, especially as a conversationalist, a person where like talking is like my love language. Oh, this would just kill me, dude. She says, Chava. He says, oh, awesome. I liked it too. If you don't mind me asking, what are you looking for on Bumble? She says, I do mind. What? That seems like a really basic question. Let's see how this goes. He says, I only asked because you don't seem interested in talking, which is now suddenly where we get the words. She said, dude, you haven't talked much first. I can say the same about you, but I didn't, and I won't, because I know until I don't know you well, I am no one to say or any form of any opinion about you. I do expect that you should be the same, because this is basic decency and you should be respectful as well. And now I understand why there's so many trolls on dating apps, because that's apparently the only way to actually get these girls to engage with you is like by apparently pissing them off, asking about their interests, asking what they're looking for, off limits, but suggest that they're not interested, and how dare you. Holy cow. Kelsaru, thank you so much for the 10, says, that was my husband's ex, who is my ex-friend. I caught feels and told him, I may not be the best, but I'm better than her. She's tried to convince him to sleep with her twice after we were married. Well, now, wait, Kelsaru. We gotta pause this Bumble story here, because Kelsaru's got the tea. Okay. Now, did you say that while they were together? Because if so, I do have mixed feelings, okay? In some of these situations, like, I'm kind of torn on when people pursue others who are already in a relationship. Overall, I think my knee-jerk reaction is like, oh, you shouldn't do that. You should be respecting their relationship. But hear me out, just because there's a goalie doesn't mean you can't score, okay? If you genuinely believe that you are better for someone than someone else, and you approach them and you're like, look, I know that you're with this guy, or I know that you're with this girl, but I have very strong feelings for you, and I think that they're a piece and that I would be way better for you. Something to consider. As long as you're not helping them cheat. Like, if you do not assist with the beginning of an affair, I don't necessarily think that that's super problematic or inherently wrong. You know, there's a million reasons that you don't want to help them cheat because you don't want to bag a cheater yourself, right? But if you shoot your shot and the other person goes, you know what? My boyfriend or girlfriend is a piece of crap, and you probably would be a good person for me. I'm going to break up with them and take you up on an offer to go on a date. I don't necessarily think that's wrong. I think a lot of people would call you a pick-me for doing that, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think I've got a point here or no? All right. I'm just saying. What do you guys think? Some of you seem like you're mad at me for saying that. I'm just saying it's a bit nuanced. Overall, leave people in relationships alone, but there have been times where the person came in and they were like, that's not the one for you, I am. And they were right. You know what I mean? Az says, I took my first baby mama from her boyfriend, so I can't hate. Damn, Az. Let's keep this going. After her minor crash out, he goes on to say, dude, you're literally answering my questions like it's an interview. You aren't even asking me the same questions back or my opinions on the things I ask. You are the last person to be talking about basic decency and being respectful. Just go through the chat and see for yourself. Damn. All right, well, I'm glad that he called her out a little bit. What do the comments have to say? What online dating looks like 90% of the time. This guy must be new to this, not true to this, because he just says, oh, awesome, cool, gotcha. Oh, no, that's just a typical answer. I get it now. She's talking to like 10 people. You're just filler. To which this person responds, filler? I hardly know her. This is really good advice, though. These top comments on Reddit are true to the game. They really get it. Effing based. Kelsaru says, please look at my unpaid response to explaining I'm not the problem. Okay, I figured you were, Kelsaru. I figured you were. Let me go back and find it. Okay, here she goes. Kelsaru says, no, the previous story, and no, she would always go to him when her abusive ex would do shit, but the second the abusive ex gave her positive attention, she would dump my now husband over 5 or 6 times. Yeah, no, I figured she was the problem. That's why I was giving you benefit of the doubt. But damn, yeah, I would definitely have myself a nice little nice girl crash out if someone was still trying to sleep with my man after I was already married. Yeah, no, not the case. I actually do have a case of my own nice girl crash out in that situation. You guys can feel free to judge me positively or negatively for this if you want. But very early on in the marriage, actually while I was pregnant, a former flame of my husband's did indeed slide into his DMs and was indeed disgustingly verbal about what she wanted to do with him, even after acknowledging that he has a wife. Okay, so I DM'd her, which typically I will let my husband handle it, and he was handling it, but I was just so mad that I wanted to be heard a little bit, and I messaged her and I was like, hey girl, I was like, what is going on here, and why did you feel that that was appropriate? And I also asked, was there something else going on that would make you feel confident enough to send this? Because as a wife, I deserve to know, okay? She responded by blocking me, so I took the screenshots from my husband's DMs and sent them to every single person on her friends list. Her mom, her dad, her grandma, her aunts, almost every single friend on there, and was like, why is your homegirl trying to get a married woman's husband? This resulted in her getting one of her friends to call my husband and was like,
please tell your wife to stop. She's so crazy. She needs to calm down.
And I was like, you know what's really crazy is trying to bone someone else's husband and then blocking her when she tries to have a reasonable discussion about it. That's what I personally think is crazy. Okay, so it was, look, that was a nice girl crash out on my end. All right, I did crash out a little bit on that one, but you know, I just felt like if she was proud enough to slide up in my man's inbox, you know, she should be proud enough for me to tell every single person about it. Oops. Oops, a little Lauren crash out. I love you guys are like, that was the perfect thing to do. Figure out and find out. Yeah, every once in a while I go and check in on how that girl's doing, and she is still absolutely single. Just single as a Pringle. I don't think that she has ever had a long-term or a single boyfriend at all in her whole life, actually. And hey, what can I say? Because I've been waiting for, I know this is a little bit crazy. It's been a long time since I've checked, but I was waiting for her to get a man just so I could send them to him and be like, just so you know, this is the type of girl you're dating. But nope, it just hasn't happened. She just stays so chronically unlaid, you know? Man, my man truly Chad widowed the shit out of her, which has been a problem. My man has Chad widowed a lot of women, unfortunately. It's like both a blessing and a curse for me, because I'm also Chad widowed, but it's fine because I've been married to him for 10 years. But like, I think I also told you guys the story about how a couple months ago, a girl that was another former fling of his showed up in my People You May Know, and her profile picture was of the two of them together from over 10 years ago. And then I like went to her profile and she also had pictures of them together in her featured photos, which is a new feature. This is a feature that was only introduced in the last few years, meaning in the last few years that I have been married to this man, she was given the opportunity to make featured photos and chose photos of her and him. Y'all, they never even dated. These were photos of them from a theatrical production. Not even like photos they took together romantically. That is how much of a Chad my man is, dude. That is how absolutely Chad widowed my man has left so many in his wake. Dude, was a wild time, but very funny for me, at least. Very entertaining.